Teresa Sorg, and I'm the Director of NonStop Engineering at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. When I was talking to Neil Davis in regards to talking with all of you today, one of the things we discussed was, hey, you know, what's engineering been up to? And it used to be that when you had Andy come and talk to these events, he'd talk a little bit about where the engineering group had been focused, and where we were headed. So I thought that I would share with you what we've been doing and what we intend to be working on. So I am going to share my slides and let me know. I'm not that familiar with Zoom, so. Can you see the slides?
Yeah, they're up now there. Yeah, they're fine.
Okay. So what I need is to determine how I don't take up my entire screen.
If you go to the view on the top right-hand corner and click on it, you can exit from full screen mode.
Oop. So I'm trying to, and now stop share. Sorry about this, guys. I'll try this again. All right, let me try this again. Okay. Can you see the slides?
Just disappeared at the moment.
Okay.
Yes, they're back.
Awesome.
Yep.
And I don't have the slides taking up my entire screen. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a review in terms of what my engineering group's been working on over the course of this year. So these are highlights in terms of where the team's been focused. So we released L21.06, which included next gen, what we're calling next gen wave 2. That I think was the rest of the clustering work that we needed to get done, as well as Green Lake NonStop wave 2. And as you heard Prashant talk about earlier a couple hours ago, quite a lot of virtual nonstop enhancements that were added. We just released L21.11, which includes enhancements and updates to SQLMX 3.8. Also Crescendo, which is the Linux kernel update for the CLIMS. And we have ongoing improvements that we continue to make in vNonstop. The other thing that I wanted to highlight, because I do get questions about this every once in a while, is I instituted an intern program in 2019. So this has been an ongoing program where we bring college interns in for the summer. And then depending upon when they graduate from school, we will make offers, and we've brought college hires onto the team. We had 4 interns this summer, and we have offers that are going out to college hires. And again, new interns that'll be coming on board for FY22. So this has been a continuation for us. We've been slowly bringing folks onto the team and getting some fresh blood onto the team as well. So a lot of them have been engaged in the work that we are doing on vNonstop. So I want to talk a little bit about nonstop and how nonstop's been evolving. But just a brief history, you guys are very much aware of this, that we've been evolving nonstop to run from proprietary hardware onto commodity platforms. And one of the things that's been in use has been when we moved to x86, we were using a chassis, a C7000 chassis that recently went end of life. So that merited a technology refresh, hardware refresh for us, the team worked on, which we're internally calling next gen. But it was because the C7000 was going to end of life. And I think also the InfiniBand connection was also going to end of life. So we needed to do a refresh in regards to the technologies themselves. So the move has been to move that NonStop software stack onto more commodity hardware. But first and foremost, NonStop is a software stack. And I believe, based on conversations I've had with customers, with folks internally, with partners, we really need to focus on the value of the software stack and focus on how can we get NonStop to truly work on any type of hardware. And that's important for a variety of reasons for us. So first and foremost, one of the reasons we've been putting so much concerted effort on NonStop is we've had challenges with it. I think Prashant mentioned this a little bit, but in the last couple of TBCs that I've been involved in, I would run into folks talking about how long it took them to get VNS installed and deployed. And they were not talking about a couple hours. We were talking about weeks, maybe a month, but it was just insane, the amount of time that people were taking in terms of getting things up and running. And there was work that was being done within the Advanced Technology Center that's managed by Franz Koenig on some automation on using Ansible scripts. And that there could be some automation that we do to make this whole experience much less painful. So the team, we pulled together an engineering team to determine how to best enhance the customer experience in setting up and managing our virtual NonStop environments. And really what we needed to do, because we had some ideas when we talked internally about what we should do, but we really needed to get feedback from our customers, our ISV partners, and HPE PointNext in regards to what kind of pain points were they facing, and where should we be focusing. And so we changed, and we will continue to reset our engineering efforts on where we focus based on that feedback that we get. And so based on working, I think Dell was one customer that we worked with very, very closely. We made some changes, significant changes in some automation that Prashant talked about. So it's the analyzer that would go out and take a look at your environment and then come back and tell you what needs to be updated. That will roll out, and we will continue to make enhancements as we talk to customers to make it much easier deploy and install NonStop. The feedback that we've gotten from the work that we've done thus far is that it has been very positive in what we're rolling out. And we are continuing to get requests of more customers that are planning to migrate to VNS. So that's why there's been a concerted effort in regards to what we're doing here. But we still have some challenges. And more we're getting requests to get VNS on major cloud platform provider environments. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the challenges that we've been facing. So one of the things that we use for virtual NonStop and for NonStop in general is the Mellanox InfiniBand connections. So we use RoCE, so RDMA over converged to Ethernet. And challenges for us are, even though RoCE NICs are industry standard, they're not really common in private and public cloud platforms. And a unique requirement that makes NonStop look different than other virtualized solutions. And there's also a lot of extra costs associated to it. So let me trying to find one of the things that we're looking at doing, and I've got my guys heavily involved in an investigation, is taking NonStop and running it over Ethernet. And the idea around this is that we take the software that is needed to emulate RDMA transfers and pull that up into our software stack. We also would look to run this on generic Ethernet NICs, and we'd be leveraging FreeBSD TCP/IP stack to be able to make this happen. This will make it a lot easier for us to be able to work and deploy within cloud platform provider environments. One of the things that became evidently clear when we were having conversations with Azure and we were having conversations with AWS was that our fabric was a sticking point because we were using Rocky. Rocky wasn't supported. The fact that we were using InfiniBand, in some cases, InfiniBand wasn't supported, and it merited the need for us to make some significant changes on our fabric. So VNS on Ethernet also has, I think, a lot of benefits that our customers would end up seeing. One would be we really could get to this place of being able to utilize whatever hardware you might have within your environment without having to be so prescriptive in terms of how you run VNS within the environment. Because we do want to focus on being this software stack as opposed to, driving hardware out the door. The other thing that it does for us is we get VNS running on Ethernet. There's also currently hardware locks that we have that we could look to remove, meaning we remove other hardware dependencies that we have. So once we're up and running on Ethernet, we'd be able to potentially get rid of the CLIMs. One of the things I'd like to look at doing is how do we make things much more simplified in running VNS within any environment. And personally, just in terms of what we deal with in CLIMs in general and ensuring that we catch any kind of issues that occur in them, it would make things overall, I think, a whole lot easier for us. There is some performance degradation that we expect that we would see, but we are doing investigations and proof of concepts within the lab to determine that it would be slight, that we're not talking about huge degradation in performance or huge amounts of latency that we would end up adding here. So this is an active investigation that we currently have going on. The other thing that we are also looking at is running the NonStop OS within a common hypervisor. So each cloud platform provider has their own hypervisor. And one of the things we did last year was a proof of concept, and it took us about a year to make it happen, of getting NonStop running on Microsoft's hypervisor. But we had a sticking point in regards to once we had that working, we couldn't get VNS running within Azure because of some of the hardware restrictions we had in place. So we also, in conversations with AWS, same types of issues were coming up. So it became abundantly clear that we needed to have some way of wrapping VNS with a Linux wrapper of some kind that would require us to have a common interface, regardless as to the hypervisor that we would need to work with. And then lastly, what we'd want to do is be able to have the tools necessary to be able to run fairly seamlessly within these cloud provider platforms. So a lot of our work this year is going to be focused on getting NonStop on Ethernet, as well as getting NonStop running on Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, because we do have customers that are asking for this, and we do want to make it not a painful process at all. And then I think you heard Prashant talk about this morning we've been actively doing development on kernel level threading. And it's a pretty big process just because of the amount of modules that we have to affect to be able to make KLT work across the entire software stack. So I did want to give an overview in regards to what the organization will be focused on as we move forward into this year. So I think that's what I had to share. And I'm happy to take any kind of questions you might have.
Thank you, Teresa. I just want to say, you know, as I say, I reached out because I realised we haven't given a forward view for some time. So thank you for agreeing to come on at very early in the morning over there and give us an update, because I think it's important to feed back to everyone where we think we're going and some of the projects that we're working on. I guess the question is, we don't yet have any timescales for these kind of projects. At the moment, they're in the investigations phase rather than the productization phase. Just to make sure people don't come to us going, when are we going to have this? The answer is at the moment, we don't know, I guess, the question.
We actually have an idea in terms of what we're going to be pushing for. And the objective would be that we have VNS on Ethernet and being on these cloud platform providers within the next year to year and a half.
Okay, cool.
The same for KLT as well. So we're not talking about years, we're talking 12 to 18 months.
Okay, that's great, thank you.
Yep.
Does anyone from the other attendees have any questions? Time to ask Teresa directly. It's all right, they were very quiet on my presentation as well when I presented, so I don't know.
Handel, you've got your hand raised. Do you want to open your mic?
Yeah. Hi, Teresa. This was really interesting. I find the concept of running under a Linux-based hypervisor really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We've deployed a whole bunch of Gen 2 class hypervisors on some pretty fast hardware, but we can't get obviously NonStop to run on it. It's got an internal fast Ethernet backbone on its internal management network that it uses for various things, including virtual IP, which is really nice to have. So love to talk to you about that. And this is commodity hardware.
Right.
So, you know, and we'd happily dedicate machines and offer to test this stuff out for you. So yeah, I'll send you my contact info and love to work with you on this.
Okay, that would be great. I see more hands are raised. Yeah, so as a partner tools vendor, our biggest pain point is the VMware cost, and its licensing cost ends up being at least as expensive as all of VNS itself. We've heard that. And that's why there is going to be a significant amount of effort in regards to how do we work with the tools and management that are available within these cloud platform provider environments. It can't, you can't assume that VMware would be used in every single one of these instances. So we will be working on getting to the cloud without having to have VMware, though we will be able to have VMware as an option for people that would want it. We're also intending to be on these cloud platform providers where you don't have to be utilizing VMware.
If it's I can't see who's put their hand up, whoever asked the question. If it's for a partner, we've worked with an organization who was able to help resolve some of those issues. So for the partner community, if they reach out to us in EMEA, we can perhaps provide some hints. Graham Rogers, who works for me, has worked with a couple of partners. So we've had 2 partners in the last 6 months set up VNSs at a very low cost.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. That was me. It was Randall who asked the question. We're having problems getting Mellanox in the first place.
Yeah.
In this side of the world, there is generally a feeling that I mean, the stocks are, the quantities are dropping. You know, we're not seeing a lot of availability of this stuff, and the Ethernet option for us is a really good one. We're mostly computational. We spend 90% of our time compiling and testing, and we don't have a lot of inter-process messaging. So the Ethernet hit isn't a huge one. Having faster chips, you know, inter-core communication is important, but inter-CPU communication really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, I would say so. Well, we had a situation. We've had a couple of partners who've approached us with wanting to have a small scale test environment. So perhaps slightly different scenario, but again, mainly for compiling or testing code, and working with another partner, they came up with a workaround that allowed them to do something at a reasonable cost. I don't know what that reasonable cost was, but I'm told that they did find a workaround, and we ended up providing. I say we've had 2 set up now. So I don't know if we can help you with that or not, and I'm not sure what they did with the hardware provisioning. So, if you reach out to me, I'll put you in contact with Graham to let him know what we did.
Okay, thanks.
It's a workaround rather than that. So I wouldn't suggest it for customers and into a production environment, but it was kind of suitable for a partner who wanted to do testing, we believe.
Any other questions?
Stunned to silence, Teresa. Excellent presentation. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Teresa. Sorry to
Yeah,
got you up so early.
Thank you for agreeing to come. It was really useful.
Yep.
Do you want to stop recording, John?